and welcome to a series of podcasts on the history of Mongolia. Through these podcasts, we are trying to shed light on some missing chapters of the Mongol history as they appear in the annals and chronicles of historiography. And our podcast hosts Dr. Otunbayır, former Education Minister of Mongolia and former Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary from Mongolia to the United States of America. So the topic of our today's podcast is about the role of Mongol women, namely the role of Mongol queens and daughters of the Great Han in the empire, in the international and domestic affairs of the empire. So with this, I would like to begin our podcast, our talk. At the onset, we would like to know about the family structure or the family of the Great Empire. How many daughters he had, how many queens he had, and what at large were their roles in family affairs and later on in empire affairs.
First of all, as coming to the queens and daughters of Genghis Khan, there are so many lost, unclear stories. First of all, we do not know exactly how many daughters did he have. Secret History of Mongols mention 8 son-in-laws.
8 son-in-laws, meaning 8 daughters.
Maybe 8 daughters, or maybe one son-in-law was killed and the daughter was remarried. We don't know that.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Exact names of all the daughters are not known, but some who became as queens in different nations is quite well known. So we know the name of at least 4 daughters who became queens of different nations. We don't know how many queens did he have. Secret History mentions about 4 queens. Of course, principal queen is Burte from Hongret clan, whom he married when he was a child. And then the Secret History mentions 2 Tatar queens, both sisters, Yesu and Yesugen, and 1 Mirkit queen, Holan. Having said this, when you read the Secret History of Mongols, you are very surprised by the roles that these queens, especially Queen Borte, principal queen, plays in the life of Genghis Khan. And sometimes you wonder, in 13th century, probably there was no other nation paying so much attention to the women part of your house, listening to the advices of women. It's very uncommon for that period. And sometimes I believe that Genghis Khan tended to listen to his mother and to his principal queen at least. And there are cases when he was listening to other queens, advices of other queens, because in his lifetime, Genghis Khan had not so nice experience with male relatives of his own. He was so many times betrayed by them. And if we remember, he was even captured when he was a boy by his distant relatives. His family was abandoned after the death of his father by his own clan. Means relatives, right? Yeah. So, but on the other hand, if you see, he was nurtured by his mother, and then he had his love of his lifetime, Queen Borte, and Borte was, these were women who were genuinely in love with him, wished really good for him, truly good for him. Whereas male relatives, you have to think of the politics, first tribal politics and then imperial politics, what was the interest behind their advice, etc., etc. Yeah. So I believe that dictated Genghis Khan's attitude toward the women or female relatives of his house.
The truly fascinating stories this should be, because Genghis Khan's wife gave rise to the boys, who raised boys who later become the conquerors, his grandchildren also raised by his daughters-in-law. So what was the culture of raising a girl befitting the manners of a future queen, for instance?
Well, coming to this point, one has to make two distinctions. One was 100 girls, 100 clan girls. Well, Porte belonged to 100 clan. His Genghis Khan's mother, Olun, belonged to Olkhonut clan, which is sub-tribe of Kongirat. Okay, basically this is the same tribe. So Kongirat clan, in Secret History of Mongols, we read that when Genghis Khan's father traveled looking for a bride for his son, he meets Daisichin of Kongirat clan, and Daisichin tells that, well, we are used to give our daughters to the strong men outside of the tribe. And that way we provide peace for our tribe. And probably because of that, Kongirat mothers used to nurture their girl child with an understanding that one day she will become a queen of a chieftain of some other tribe. Okay, and that's why they were nurturing their girls with a long-term goals.
With a vision.
With a vision, so that first of all they would become good queens, good mothers, and care for the clan, tribe, or empire. So if it is coming to the Kongirat tribes, but if it is coming to the other queens, like Queen Durgan, Queen Ogulgaimesh, or Queen Sarkhaktani, these are princesses of conquered tribes. Okay, so first of all, as a princesses, they have grown up in good condition. They've grown up in the situation of the palace intrigues, which they have seen from childhood, and probably they have higher ambitions than the 100 girls who were supposed to be good wives and good mothers. So later on you will see how this played in the history of empire in different manners. Having said this, I also should say that, well, anyway, in nomadic society, women's role was traditionally high. Of course, probably they were not listened to if it is military matters, okay, which is understandable. Military matter is actually the question of the man in the tribe. But if it is coming to economic affairs, if it is coming to a question of choosing a bride for their children, you will see that Hans often listen to the queens. That's why you see why Genghis Khan's father went to Hongirats to choose a wife, because his wife is from same tribe, from Olkhonut sub-tribe of Hongirats. So I believe that most probably he was influenced by his queen to go to Hongirats to choose a wife. And then if you see the grandsons, they would always have a Hongirat wife, because their queens would probably advise that you should have one. Of course, understandably, when they have conquered different nations, you will have queens of these nations in order to make sure that the conquered nation would understand that he is a new suzerain. Okay, because he has got, I don't know, after conquering Khwarezm, Genghis Khan takes the daughter of Khwarezm Shah Muhammad, Han Sultan, and presents her to his elder son Juche. That was done in the interest of pacifying conquered nation. But again, having said this, Juche would have 200 wives, one Naiman wife, etc., etc. So that was always a policy that Mongol Khans pursued.
Well, you said you used the word present. Were they Mongol Khans presenting wives and daughters? Presenting means like they're dealing with objects, No?
Well, you see, when you have conquered a nation, these princesses of the conquered nation already are subject of Mongol Khan. So whatever he deems to do with them, he does this. But there was a case of presenting even. For example, Genghis Khan had a wife from Kiraite tribe, Ibagabiki, whom he presented to one of his trusted generals. It was done in 1206, just before the proclamation of Genghis Khan as Khan of Mongols. And it was a result of the state politics. Of course, before that, he was feuding with the Khan of Kiraites, and brother of the Khan of Kiraites, Jaga Hambo, he probably supported Genghis Khan in a hope that he will help him to become Khan of Kiraites. That's why he married his daughter, Ibagabiki. And afterwards, when Genghis Khan conquered all the tribes of the Great Steppe, Jaga Hambo realized that he is not going to be made as Khan of Kiraites. So he revolted against the Genghis Khan.
Although Genghis Khan is married to his daughter.
Yes, he was father-in-law.
Yeah, father-in-law.
Father-in-law of Genghis Khan. But he revolted against the Genghis Khan, and Genghis Khan, of course, defeated him. And after the defeat, probably Genghis Khan could not live with the daughter of someone who revolted against the emperor. So he had to divorce with Ibagabiki, but he made sure a couple of things. He says very nice things to Ibagabiki. It's a very rare case. You can even feel the emotion of Great Khan when he's talking to Ibagabiki. He's saying that, well, it's not that I'm saying that you are not beautiful. It's not that I'm saying that you have a bad character. It's because of the interests of the politics. And I'm presenting you to my trusted general as a wife. And he says that, however, you will be keeping the title of queen. And you will be and even after me, you will be respected as a queen. That's an interesting thing. And another daughter of Jaga Hambo, Sarhaktani, was given to his son Tului. But Genghis Khan did not order Tului to divorce because Kiraites revolted not against the Tului. Kiraites revolted against the emperor. So he had to divorce. But his son kept his wife, which later resulted in a very different story and interesting story in the Mongolian Empire.
Did Mongolian women have a freedom to choose their husbands? Not women, but the queens and the daughters of Hans. Like if the father Han says you should marry this person, could she say no?
Often she did not have that right. And if you see the pattern of the marriage of Genghis Khan's daughter, you can see that they were married to the tribes and clans which is surrounding original Mongolian territory. His younger sister Temulun was given as queen to the Ikiris tribe, which was in the eastern side of Mongolia. And another daughter, Chicheken, was given to the Oirat tribe, which was in the west of Mongolia. Well, in Chinese military theory, there is a theory of Fanyang. It's like a wall around your nation. So Genghis Khan basically built a wall around the nation through his daughters. Because if you want to invade to Mongolia, you have to pass through
those walls.
First of all, through the territory of the in-laws. And to fight in-laws of Genghis Khan was probably not really inspiring task that time. So it was common that all these daughters were given as a political marriage. And if you see the history, you can see that all these princesses of the golden lineage, they were given Korean kings. So, well, as a queen consorts. So basically they were ruling Korea. or Uyghur kings in order to control the Silk Road trade, or Ongut kings in order to control the territory beyond the Gobi Desert and keep Mongolian forces, in Ongut territory, ready to ride into China or into Central Asia. That was a very key region. But there were cases when daughters often denied father's will. For example, if you read Marco Polo's book, there is a fascinating story about Hutulun, the daughter of Haidu Khan. She was so strong. She was good wrestler, good archer. She was leading armies against the battle. And Marco Polo writes that when Hutulun became old enough, his father insisted that she should marry. And Hutulun said, okay, if any man would defeat me in a wrestling match, I will marry this man. And her condition was that any man who is willing to challenge her in a wrestling match, he should put 25 to 30 horses as a bet. And probably she enriched his father because historical records show that no one has been able to beat her in a wrestling match. Even then, one day, very handsome prince came and put a bet of 1,000 horses and challenged her in a wrestling match. And Haidu Khan asked his daughter to lose. She promised to lose. She promised to lose, yeah. And when she came for the match. In the middle of match, she was so drawn into the match that she defeated the young man, forgot and defeated the young man. And the interesting thing is that it seems that she married for love, because she married to an ordinary soldier of his father.
We will now go into very fascinating stories of the daughters of Genghis Khan and also of the queens of his sons. But before that, I would like to hear more about the role of the Grand Queen, Oling. What was her role in raising the generations of Mongol Hans and also the queens?
Well, first of all, one has to take into consideration that Olun was actually robbed during her trip when she married to a...
She was like kidnapped?
Robbed. Kidnapped or robbed.
Stolen, anyway.
Stolen, stolen. But she became a good mother, and all of her children have become great men. That's the interesting part of the story. But a lot of people do not pay attention on other fact. With every tribe that Genghis Khan conquered, Olun would take one child, orphan child, and grow him
as her own.
And out of these orphans grew most trusted friends of Genghis Khan. Sheikh Utuk, first chief judge of Mongolia. He is of Tatar origin, or Borohol. And all these young men are named among the greatest generals and great statesmen of the Mongol Empire. That shows that Olun was so wise woman that she was able to grow all her children as a great Hans. Also, she grew all the orphans as major statesmen, famous generals.
Borhol was the one who saved Ogoda's life, yeah, later.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. Borhol. Then now, let's a little bit talk now about Burkhatan. Burkhatan, she was the senior of the four queens, yeah?
Yes.
And she was the mother of, understandably,
four sons, and unknown number of girls.
Of course, she was the most beloved queen of Genghis Khan. In state affairs, did she have a role or influence over the Great Khan?
In Secret History of Mongolia, you read a few cases when Genghis Khan listened not to his generals, but to Queen Borte. For example, when the Jamuha of Chatran clan and Temujin or Genghis Khan were living together
As friends, very close
friends, and as a sworn brothers. And then when Jamuha indicates that he would like to separate, and Genghis Khan talks about this at his home, and instead of his generals, Borte says, well, it's well known that Jamuha is feeling fatigue from this long friendship, so we should separate. It's a very strategic decision for his clan or tribe. And Genghis Khan listens not to his generals, but to Queen Borte. So it means that, first of all, Genghis Khan trusted Borte, endless trust. And secondly, if you take, we even don't know how many sons Genghis Khan had. Okay, we know the name of 4 sons. They are from Borte. Yeah, and we know the name of 1 son who was killed in Russia. That was from Queen Holon. We don't know if there were sons or daughters from Yisu in Yisuken, and also number of other queens. We don't know that. And the fact that Genghis Khan recognized only 4 sons from Borte as his sons, that shows that Genghis Khan's respect to Borte, to the principal queen. And Borte, in my opinion, was also, besides being a good queen, she was good mother and very wise mother, I would say. I'm saying this because for 2 cases. She was not power hungry. Under the Mongolian tradition, when great Khan dies, until the next Khan is chosen, usually the principal queen acts as a head of state. It was like this throughout Mongolian history.
In the interim period until the next Khan is throned.
Yes, but Borte does not assume that role. Youngest son Tului acts as a regent during the interregnum period. That shows that Borte is not power hungry.
Politically not ambitious.
Politically, no. Well, I would say her ambitions were probably about raising great Khans and
Decent
great
Khans.
queens, etc. But on the other hand, if you see the daughters of Genghis Khan, what role the daughters played inside the empire and outside the empire, you would say that, well, she actually nurtured them to be a really great queens. For sons, it's always difficult to say. There are differing opinions about the sons, but daughters are really great queens, unfortunately, who are forgotten in the annals of history.
I understand from your talk that Genghis Khan had a very strong feminist policy. Has this policy then survived him? Did succeeding Khans continue that feminist, if you agree, policy of
well, Genghis Khan respected...
In modern terms, of course.
Genghis Khan respected women. In that sense, of course, you may say it's a feminist policy. First of all, he issued a decree not to sell the girls. Okay, because his younger sister Temujin was given as a queen of Uykires tribe to Butu. And when Butu of Uykires came to Genghis Khan and offered a number of horses in return to Temujin, Secret History of Mongolia says that Genghis Khan said that, no, I will not accept your herd of horses. That way it would look like that I'm selling my sister. So my only request to you would be that the Uykires tribe remains loyal to us. That's the only condition that I attach. And after that, he issued a decree that no girl can be sold. So that's why we don't have this tradition of providing dowry.
Dowry, yes.
For the women. On the other hand, of course, all the Mongol Khans followed this tradition of respecting their queens, listening to them, and you see that a lot of times in Mongolian history, queen dowagers during the interregnum period ruled over the empire. A lot of Arab travelers, European travelers, they stated with a great surprise that, you know, the Mongol queens have different court than the Khans. And these courts are as big as the Khans. And the Mongol queens issue a decree with her own stamp. And this decree is followed throughout the empire, which was not comprehensible for, let's say, Arab, Persian, or Europeans of that time. Of course, this played sometimes very positive role, sometimes not so positive role, etc.
Earlier part of your talk, you said that Chinggis Khan would be giving his daughters to the Khanates or to the nobles outside the nation, outside the Mongol Empire. So that means that he already had some geopolitical strategy in securing peace stability in his homeland. Yeah. How, in general, you would conclude the role of Mongolian daughters, the Chinggis Khan's daughters, in geopolitics of that time, as a conclusion?
Yes, that is the interesting part of the story. No, not so many people has written about this because first he gives the hand of his daughter Alahabiki to the Ongut ruler. Ongut is the north of the Great China Wall.
Modern day Inner Mongolia.
Modern day Inner Mongolia, in Ordos region.
In Ordos.
For him, it was a very strategic point because if you want to conquer China, you had to first to pass through the Gobi Desert. And after passing through the Gobi Desert, you need some place where your armies will have rest and will have enough pasture to feed your horses, etc. So Ongut territory, in that sense, was very strategically important. Secret history of Mongols recorded what Chinggis Khan has said when he sent his daughter Alatanibiki. He said three things. You have to remember, your first husband is a Mongolian state. Your second husband is your good name. And your third husband is your husband, current husband. So he sets out the priorities for his daughter that first of all, you have to be guided by the interests of the empire. And secondly, you have to behave yourself and have a good prestige among your own subjects. And then only you should think of your husband. Because earlier there were cases when the daughters, early in Mongolian history, there were cases when daughters fell in love with husband and, betrays the interest of the state. Let's say, for example, story of queen of Western Liao dynasty who was married to Naman Prince Kuchluk and supported her husband in a revolt against her father. And then it resulted in the downfall of the Liao dynasty. And it happened not so in distant time. So Chinggis Khan remembered this. That's why he's
he prioritizes
prioritizing
this order
to his daughter what should be first priority, second and third priority. And he sent her daughter as a queen of Onguts. And if you see the history of Alahabiki, what she has done with Onguts, how she became really part of this tribe, and how she incorporated this tribe into a Mongol system, that's, I would say, she was a great stateswoman, to do this. Another daughter, Chichekhin, was given to Oirats, or Western Mongols. Before that, Oirats were always in opposition to Chinggis Khan. They were together with Jamoha against the Chinggis Khan, then they were together with the Naimans against the Chinggis Khan, etc. And afterwards, in 1206, Zochi, the son of Genghis Khan, conquers Oirat tribes, and he sends his daughter Chicheken as a queen of Oirats, and Chicheken incorporated Oirats into Mongol system in such a manner that now we consider them as Western Mongols, not Oirats.
Not Oirats, yes.
Yeah, Western Mongols. So Oirats, of course, it was a mixture of the Turkic and Mongol-speaking tribes, but she incorporated them into such a manner that, and also another daughter, Alatani. Alatani was given as a queen of Uyghurs, Uyghur Idikut. Uyghurs was very important in the sense that all Silk Road trade originating from China would pass through Tangut territory and then come to Uyghur territory. And Uyghur trade is very important in this trade, very dominant in this trade. And it was important for Genghis Khan to keep the major trading post under his control. And his daughter and subsequent daughters of Great Khan's family, they have been keeping in Uyghurs, first of all, in peace, secondly, loyal, and thirdly, most of the imperial intelligentsia of that period comes from Uyghur. So
the learned men.
Yeah, so it means that daughters of Genghis Khan have kept. And one thing which is important, let's look on the matter from different angle. Because first of all this trade goes through the Ongo territory where Al-Habiki is there, and then goes to Uyghur and Oirat territories where Chicheken and Al-Tani is there. So you can imagine that there is a big transnational corporation operating the trade throughout the empire.
Yes,
And one branch of this transnational corporation is located in Ongo, one branch in Uyghur, one branch in Oirat, and that way, daughters of Genghis Khan has created such an enormous economic system of exchange and controlled so big trade that maybe in today's terms, we could say billions and billions dollars.
Sure, yeah.
That's interesting.
Amazing. So it's wonderful to think that my forefathers were one of those beautiful princesses and the queens of Mongolia. Now let's move on to the role of the queens or daughters-in-laws or the queens of the Mongol Hans. Who were the most remarkable ones who really, as you say, exercised that very unwritten law of passing the legitimacy of the throne through the queen?
Yeah, you can name a lot of powerful queens. Let's say after the demise of son of Genghis Khan Ogudei, Queen Durgan was ruling the empire. And then afterwards, after the death of Guyuk Khan, Sarhaktani Beki, most probably most intelligent and most powerful queen in medieval Mongolian history, who gave birth to 4 great Khans.
Yes.
That's amazing part of the story, but also it's a tragedy because her sons, after her death, started a civil war among the Mongolians and resulted in disintegration of the empire. You may name a lot of different strong queens, for example, Queen Taji, who after the demise of the Yuan Emperor Ulzi Timur, she was instrumental to stop the bloody war between her 2 sons and put them as an emperor of Yuan in subsequent position. But in my opinion, I think we should talk about Queen Mandukhai the Wise. I call her as Joan d'Arc of the East, rather would say. But coming to the Mandukhai, one should talk about preceding story, how it happened.
Yeah.
and why she was forced to provide that legitimacy of the throne through her to the next great Khan.
Of Genghis Khan lineage.
Yeah, and then we come to the remarkable and tragic story of another queen, Queen Samar Taiho, Samar, because she was a daughter of Elbek Khan of Mongolia, and Elbek Khan of Mongolia, when he was involved in an adultery case, and in between the case, he killed one of the strong men of Western Mongolia. So Elbek Khan, in order to rectify his mistake, he gave hand of his daughter to the son of the killed Western Mongolian leader. And that way Samar became mother of subsequent strong Western Mongolian rulers. And her son Togon, he actually almost conquered whole of Mongolia. Togon Khan. Well, he was never Khan, he was Taishi. Togon Taishi. Well, Western Mongolian rulers very seldomly got the title of Khan. They were always Taishi because they did not belong to the golden lineage. So, and her grandson Ising, he united all of Mongolia. He invaded into China, took Chinese emperor as a prisoner of war, etc. So in a way, she gave birth to the very strong Western Mongolian rulers who ruled over Mongolia through puppet Khans, but real rulers were Togon, Ising, etc. And then it comes to the beautiful story because, you see, Samar was probably supportive of her grandson when he was uniting Mongolia because it was her dream to unite all of Mongolia, etc. And then at some point of time, Ising Taish, her grandson, decided that this Borjigin tribe or golden lineage is not supportive of him. So he decided to kill everybody of this descent. So for a few years...
Did Borjigin revolt against him?
Well, to be very frank, he was betrayed a number of times also. That's true. But I believe that's not because of Portuguese.
But he feared that...
No, this was politics, state politics, okay. Even today, politicians betray each other on every turn. So, and then he started killing everybody of golden lineage descent. And his daughter, Chechikatung, she was pregnant at this time. And father of child was of Borjigin tribe.
So his son-in-law was Borjigin.
No, his grandson. Son-in-law was, yeah. And when it was time for her to give birth, Essen has sent a group of men.
So he killed, before that he killed his son-in-law?
Yes. And then when his daughter was about to give birth, Essen sent his soldiers and said, if there is a daughter, comb her hair. If there is a son, comb her throat. Somehow Samar, well, she is from the lineage, golden lineage, in the Borjigin. And obviously she was very much worried that Borjigins will cease to exist. So she outmaneuvered the emissaries of his grandson and kept the boy alive. Of course, she had to send the boy deep into the Mongolian territory to the nobles who were in opposition to Ising, her grandson. And this is, tragic story of a lady who had to go against her son and grandson in order to keep the golden lineage. And she was able to keep the only surviving
offspring
of the golden lineage, and that way she has to be remembered as a great lady.
Yeah.
But you can imagine at what cost she had to do that. And at the time, when Queen Mandohoi, we have to understand who was Mandohoi. Mandohoi was a daughter of...
so we'll come back to that boy, to saved boy, yeah?
Yes, yes. Mandohoi, at the time of when Mandohoi became a queen of Mongolia, Mongolia was ruled by King Mandul, and Mandul Khan. Mandul was, in a way, puppet Khan of Western Mongolian leader Bekarslan. And in Mongolian books, we refer to him as Bekarsan Taishi. His name was Bekarslan. For the Western Mongolians, it was quite common to take a Muslim name because they were in control of the Silk Road and Muslim cities
to the west of them, there was Muslim
of Xinjiang, Turkestan, etc. So you will find a lot of names like Mahmud, Bekarslan, Ismail, all these. And then, of course, Mandul's principal wife was Yungen, or as Mongolian sources indicate, big nose Yungen.
She had a big nose.
She had a big nose, which was actually not considered to be beautiful among Mongols. And this Yungen was daughter of Bekarslan. And obviously she bore no child. And Mandul decided to take a younger wife. And he took the daughter of one of the nobles from the southern part of Mongolia as his new wife. And it is interesting whether she was queen or not until she takes over as a queen, because often the sources indicate about her as a lady Mandohoi until the time. And Mandul dies afterwards. Before his death, one should say that, remember the lost boy? He was brought up somewhere in the south of Mongolia, in the territories which was in opposition to Isin Taishi. But when
away from his grab.
Away from his grandma. And then when he comes to the age, Mandul Khan takes him as co-ruler, because Mandul realizes that he wouldn't have male hair. And it is obviously, I don't know what was the problem. Problem was obviously in Mandul rather than his queens. So by that time, he probably understood that he is not going to have male hair. So he brought the only remaining offspring of the golden lineage, who was brought somewhere in obscurity, brings him to the court and appoints him as a Jinong. Jinong is Prince. Yeah. And he gives the title Boloch Jinong. Boloch Jinong is Prince in waiting.
Like Crown Prince.
Like Crown Prince, yeah. So it indicates that Mandul is aware that he is not going to have a male heir. And secondly, it indicates that he says that I'm going to die soon, and this man will take on. Yeah. And then you come, you go through the story of the court intrigue.
And the name of this boy is?
Bayumuk.
Bayumuk.
Yes.
Bayumuk Janang.
Bayumuk Janang.
The Crown Prince Bayumuk.
And it's interesting that, remember the Bekarslan, father of his principal queen?
Yes.
He sent one of his noblemen, Ismail, to the Mongolian court. And Ismail was supposed to control
court affairs,
court affairs, etc. So obviously Ismail played intrigues and quarreled Bayumuk with Mandul, saying obviously, from whatever written in the sources, he probably indicated that Bayumuk is having an affair with the principal queen, which is, I don't know which was true or untrue. I don't know there is no proof of that, but Mandul became furious and he ordered to catch this poor young man. He runs away and Ismail goes after him and he demised somewhere in the south of Gobi, but his son, small boy, has survived after all this ordeal, and someone loyal to him, to Baimukh, has hidden, has kept in hide his son, etc. So when Mandul dies, then again a question comes: why Principal Queen Yungin is not regent? Why Mandukha is the regent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
It seems that the nobility around the throne in Mongolia, they decided that if they support Yungin as a daughter of the Western Mongolian warlord as a regent, that will be virtually integration of Mongolia into Western Mongolian court. So they supported younger one, Mandukha, as a regent, and she is kept as a regent. Around that time, Ismail is killed, and Yungin disappears. And so I believe that around that time there was a revolt against Bekarslan or Western Mongolian warlords. They chased away all their people. And then question comes, who is going to be next Han? There were a lot of contenders. It seems that Mandukha was in love with Unbold, descendant of Hasar, brother of Genghis Khan. And she decides not to marry Unbold.
Her love.
Her love, yeah. She decides to find out that boy lost somewhere in the south of Gobi.
Baimukh's son.
Baimukh's son, Batmukh. And then she finds that son, brings to central part of Mongolia, declares 7-year-old boy as king of Mongolia.
7-year-old boy.
He was 7-year-old, yeah. She specifically designed a shoe for him with triple sole so that he wouldn't look too small. And then had to marry. That's again, it's a very important tradition among the nomads, not only Mongols, to pass the legitimacy of the throne through her body. So that, Mongols should understand, okay, first of all, this boy is from the golden lineage, and secondly, the queen marries this boy, so he is our Han.
How old was she at that time?
In her late 20s. Yeah. And why I'm calling her as a Joan d'Arc?
Yeah.
Because then she goes on war with Western Mongols. She chased away all their representatives in the court, and obviously there has to be clash between the two parts of Mongolia. She brings 7-year-old boy in ox cart, and she leads the army, defeats Western Mongols, and conquers Western Mongolia, and finally Mongolia becomes one state. It was not Baimukh Han, Batmukh Han. It was Mandukha, the wise, who united all of Mongolia and brought under the one rule.
For the first time after the Mongol Empire, the consolidation of Mongolia at that scale happened?
Yes, yes. And she confers very risky title to his Han, to her Han. If you remember, Batmukh Khan is known as Batmukh Daying Khan.
Yes, Daying Khan.
Why Daying?
Daying means, why Daying?
Daying is all over. Okay, in Mongolian language, it's all over. So when you declare Batmukh as Daying Khan, it means that every Mongolian tribe should belong to him, Daying. But on the other hand, if Daying is this title of Daying, Chinese listen to it as Dai Yuan. So she puts a claim to the whole of China. She looks at the reconstruction of the old Yuan dynasty.
I see.
Yeah,
Very visionary. yeah.
Very visionary. On the other hand, very risky, right? Because every Chinese Ming emperor from Ming Dynasty would think, is he claiming for the throne of Yuan?
That's 15th century, yes.
That's the 15th century. And you know that Chinese used to call Batmunk Taiyang as child emperor. And okay, when he ascended to the throne, he was child. That's but he ruled all over Mongolia over 40 over years, and Chinese chronicles write about him, child emperor, because Chinese were very much hurt by the title of Taiyuan. Right.
That's a beautiful story. Of course, she can be identified with Joan d'Arc as a symbol of unification and securing the sovereignty of Mongolia.
And one interesting thing, when she wanted to put Batmunk on the throne, she went to take oath at the burial place of Queen Oilun. That's an interesting part of the story, because she could travel to the place of Genghis Khan's burial. Right? Why she chose?
But Genghis Khan's burial place, we don't know.
Well, around that time, there
were still memories alive.
Yeah, there were still memories.
So she took him to the burial place of Ulan-Khatan.
Ulan-Khatan, yes. And that's an interesting part of the story. Why did she decide to do so? And I believe that most probably it was not him, but her to take oath, that she takes oath before the spirit of Ulan-Khatan or Mother Oilun, that she will nurture their child, she will unite the nation, she will create the empire and pass it over to this child, which Oilun did also in her own way. Well, influenced by her, first of all, she sacrificed herself.
Yes.
She sacrificed her love. She spent so many years fighting all the enemies, united the whole nation. She was able to create a system of administration that was functioning in all parts of Mongolia, that was effectively controlling the different tribes. And she nurtured also so many great boys who were rulers of different parts of Mongolia, and even a boy who was born not from her, but from Jalair, queen of Batmunk, whom he married later. And this boy Girsins is actually the origin of all Mongolian nobility on today's Mongolian territory. So if you read the lineages of Mongolian nobility on today's Mongolian territory, it always name Batmunk Taiyang Khan, his son Girsin Jalair Huntaj, and then goes. And that resembles me also, Mother Oilun. Remember about the orphans that she nurtured, and Manduha also nurtured as Girsins.
I think she was greatly inspired by Ulan mother. Ulan. But I read somewhere, I can't recall where, but there was a historian, Sukhpatrwa. Sukhpatrwa was saying that those 11 sons are birthed by Manhattan and Batmunk Taiyang were not actually hers. I mean, she birthed those sons from Unbaltvang. And she, although symbolically she appears as a queen on the throne, but she let the young man choose his own love, and he fathered his own next princes. In fact, she was not intimate with Batmunk Taiyang.
No, I do believe. Well, it's again questionable conclusion. It's always difficult to say who was the real father of this or that boy. And we do know for a fact that Unbold was putting a claim to the throne. And in most of the cases of the interregnum period, support to Queen Mandukhai was provided by Unubold. Otherwise, when you are facing Western Mongols, how would you keep the whole of Mongolia under control? 7-year-old boy and young queen.
Lady, young woman.
So it was, the Unubolds provided the support. But one thing we have to say here, because you see, in steppe tradition, nomads believe that if child is born, that's the willingness of the eternal heaven. So if heaven decided to give a birth to this boy, it is probably unimportant who is the father. It is important if the father recognizes this boy as his son. Remember the story of the first son of Genghis Khan, Zochi, and his his lifetime question that followed him throughout his lifetime. If he is really son of Genghis Khan, or maybe,
as even the name suggests, Zoching.
Zoching, yes. And Genghis Khan proclaimed that he is my son.
His son, yes.
Yeah. And basically it says that if I'm recognizing him as my son, what other people have to do with this, have to say about this. So basically, I would say so.
Well, thank you very much for your today's talk. We have learned about a beautiful story of a Mongolian queen who had played an instrumental role in consolidation of the nation for the first time after the Great Empire. And we will be waiting for our next talks in our future podcasts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.